Donald Trump comes out and undermines what they're saying. For example, Sean Spicer, when he said, this is not a Muslim ban, this is not a travel ban. And then the president tweets he wants his travel ban, and he doesn't even like the watered-down one with Jeff Sessions.
Sean Spicer, you didn't know we had cameras in your office. So when the president would tweet, did you have an alert on your phone?
Yes.
Did he... Did he ever run a tweet by you before tweeting it?
I don't believe... maybe once or twice.
Did you ask him to?
To run him by?
Yeah. No, you didn't. Did it ever, like wake you up in the middle of the night or anything like that?
I think there were times when you might have wanted to go to bed and said, okay, this is gonna be a little longer night. Or you would get up and, the first thing, but that was one of the president's most effective tools on the campaign trail, and he continues to utilize it. So you were constantly kept on your toes. And I will tell you that there's no one that's working harder than him when it comes to the hours of the day. He's up late, he's up early, and that, as a staffer, you usually are trying to get ahead of your boss.
Did you ever try just accidentally dropping his phone in the toilet?
I did not.
You did not? See?
No.
You should have called me. I could have helped you with this job.
You've been a lot of help.
I know. I've been... this idea of fake news.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about your relationship. You have a long-standing relationship with members of the press. Do you agree that the vast majority of, not the vast majority, the majority of journalists are decent people who are looking to get the truth and to write the truth?
I think probably the majority.
Yeah.
There are a lot that have now, I always like to say that they'd rather be first than right. And I think that's unfortunate because it gives a bad name to those who actually do take the time to do it right.
There is a lot of that. People want to just get
right,
and
it's also, there's a line between, and this is where I think a lot of journalists have crossed the line, which is they go on Twitter or another social media and start to perpetuate myths or make back and forth and say, well, that's not a story,
Wait
that's
a minute.
tweet.
The journalists go on Twitter and perpetuate myths? How about the president?
Well, but yeah, look, and I think there's a lot of times where what I found frustrating was that there were a lot of times when they were literally creating a story out of whole cloth that didn't exist. And I think that that's difficult because if you're a viewer or a reader and you see something, you're trusting these individuals to give you what is the best, the whole truth,
sure, yeah.
as opposed to a one-sided way that's going to promote, a view or a click.
But the president, it seems that what he calls fake news is really anything that criticizes him, and then he'll give validity to wacky news sources sometimes because they're complimentary. And do you think that is a dangerous thing to delegitimize the press for America?
Look, I think it's a two-way street. And when these guys in the press corps go after the president in ways that are unbecoming, and again, it's sort of like what your mom said, two wrongs don't make a right. And so I think sometimes when the press corps attacks the president, undermines him, or calls into question his credibility from the outset, I think it creates a very poor relationship overall, and I think that there is some area that could deserve a reset, and hopefully, I think Sarah's done a phenomenal job of really trying to take the tone down and get back.
So when you say there were two wrongs, you mean Donald Trump, the president, was wrong?
But no, I didn't say that. But what... What I'm saying
Sean, you don't work there anymore. You don't have to worry about him. We can protect you here. I got the best security guy in the world. I mean, look at that.
I will protect you, yeah. I want you back.
No, I believe that, look, that a free press is paramount to a democracy, and it's what makes our country great, that we do have the ability, like so many places on earth don't have that ability, to speak freely, to have a free press. But it is an awesome responsibility for those members of the press corps to have, and they need to understand that when they cross the line, or when a member of the press corps crosses the line, that they have a responsibility to help hold that in. And I've never seen a group of individuals who protect themselves like the press corps does, especially the White House press corps. They've never once, during my tenure, and at least in my recollection, ever called out someone who has crossed the line on a story. And I think it undermines...
Is that true?
I rarely have seen any, they always have an excuse for why that story, you know, well, we were gonna correct it and we checked with the sources and now, and there's never an admission of guilt. Once in a while, you'll see a little correction that says, you know, we erred in it, you know, putting the period here or there. But I do believe that the healthier press corps that we have, the better democracy that we have.
Lumping everyone together, though, as fake news just seems terrible to me. I mean, in a way, you're a Catholic, and I'm a Catholic as well. I'm offended when people lump all priests together as child abusers. I find that to be unfair to those who aren't.
I agree. But as someone who's a conservative and a Republican, I spent 25 years in Washington, D.C. being told conservatives want this, Republicans are against this. So I agree. But it's the press corps that also lumps all of us into the same bucket as well and says conservatives don't care about this, the Republicans are racist. If those statements are not right, then it's not right. So again, it's that whole idea of two wrongs don't make a right. The press corps wants to attack Republicans, attack conservatives, undermine our attempt to have a constructive dialogue, and I think it's a two-way street. So if we don't want to lump every journalist into the same thing, then don't lump every Republican and every conservative into the same box.
Okay. I don't think everyone is. I mean, you've got Fox News is certainly not doing that, and you consider them to be part of the press. I mean, it really is. I mean, it seems almost like a childish way to interact with each other as two different
and that's
groups.
why I'm saying I think that there's a time that we can start taking down the temperature and getting back to a more constructive and civil dialogue.
You mean when Mike Pence takes over?
I think we could all use a dose of that.
All right.
And especially, you know, one of the things that makes us, again, such a great country is that we have this ability to have the discourse that we have. But I think that what we want to do is to continue to be that place in the world that people look to and admire the values and the principles that we have.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. If you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe. And if you don't click subscribe, this invisible hamster will die.